The senator from Rhode Island.
President, I want to thank our chairman for bringing us together on the Senate floor today to reaffirm a proposition that really ought not to be in any doubt. And that is the proposition that when a court has ruled on a matter, the executive and legislative branches are bound to follow the law. As the chairman said, you may choose to appeal, or you may choose to obey, or if you have a hugely principled objection, you may choose to resign, but you don't get to simply disobey court orders that you don't like. Now, thankfully, a number of our Republican colleagues are on record supporting that simple proposition. The majority leader, Senator Thune, said, "The courts obviously are the branch of our government that calls balls and strikes and referees." And I think that they've got an important role to play. I mean, we have three branches of government in this country, co-equal and independent branches, and the judiciary is the one that resolves some of the differences that often occur between executive and legislative branches. Chairman Grassley, the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, added, "We've got a system of checks and balances, and that's what I see working. I learned in 8th grade civics about checks and balances, and I just express the process to work its way out." As Senator Hawley said, "You may think that something is not the right ruling, but you know, they're still the law." And Senator Kennedy said, "I don't agree with all the rulings. It's often the case that I'll disagree with an opinion that a court issues, but I don't attack. And I don't intend to attack the legitimacy of the federal judiciary." And he, as the chairman said, advised the witnesses before him, don't ever take the position that you are not going to follow a court order. So from all of that, you would think that things were fine and that this was a wasted exercise of time here on the Senate floor. But unfortunately, it's not, because at the other end of Pennsylvania, the White House is constantly attacking the rule of law from all angles. And this administration is teetering on full-blown defiance of court rulings. Vice President Vance posted that judges aren't allowed to control the executive branch's legitimate power. That is an invitation to violate court orders if the executive takes the position that its own view of what its legitimate power is what controls. One Senate Republican went so far as to call court orders that the administration lost a coup. Well, if there's any coup going on, it's the executive branch coup taking place in our country right now, not court-ordered coup. Department of Justice, which should know better, including the Solicitor General, who should for sure know better, refused to say that they will always follow a court order, and many colleagues actually defended them. And then, outside of the immediate danger of refusing to obey a court order, is the attack on the integrity and safety of the judiciary. We've seen this in Rhode Island. A judge in Rhode Island, a very respected judge, very well known throughout our state, very well regarded, very experienced, made the determination that the freeze order of the Trump administration was unconstitutional, which in my view is not even a close call. That was an easy answer. And rather than respond, they dropped what I call the flying monkeys on him. Elon Musk maintains on X a cohort of extremists and oddballs who he can launch by targeting an individual to go and attack and harass that individual and their family. And he did precisely that to this judge, to the point where the judge's daughter was actually doxxed by one of these extremist followers of Musk. It ought to be self-evident the judge's orders ought to be followed, It ought to be self-evident that if you don't like a judge's order, you don't threaten the judge or his daughter. Instead, you appeal it. And the third tactic that they're using is what I call the fog bank tactic. So the order is, the freeze is unconstitutional, OMB, you've got to let the money go. And then people who have money coming to them, properly obligated, properly appropriated, try to call up and say, okay, the order says you can't hold it back, when's it coming? And what do they get? No clear answers. The fog bank. The executive officials retreat behind refusal to answer emails, refusal to answer phone calls, vague answers that give no response, sometimes even happy indications that don't worry, hang out there, I'm sure that we can work this out, and even in some cases, yes, you will have access to these funds. And no matter what the answer is from the fog bank, it doesn't change the fact that the money just doesn't go. It reminds me of old bad movies about the Soviet Union where the KGB guy in the corner is the one who makes all the decisions. And the nominal chief of the agency says, oh yes, of course we're going to do this, but unless the KGB guy signs off, then the money doesn't go. And in this case, it's not a KGB guy, it's the little muskrats who are in these departments trying to foul up the lawful flow of properly appropriated and obligated funds. That is a slow-mo contempt of these court orders. And as courts and plaintiffs dig in, I think we're going to find more and more evidence of the deliberately contumacious nature of that fog bank strategy. And with that, I will yield the floor, thanking again our chairman for his leadership on this issue.